Well, it's time now to head back to the riders who have reached the stage of the first run in the quarterfinals. Each competitor has 3 runs and all 3 Aussies are still in the action as we rejoin Tom Williams and Peter Cahoon.
Start list for the first of the quarterfinals of the men's BMX, and are we ready to rumble? Mike Day will lead them in. Jimenez, Lucas, the Kiwi Willers is in there, and we can expect some fireworks in this.
Oh yeah, this is the rock and roll Olympic sport making its debut right now.
We've seen them do time trials, but now it's down to business. Plug them in and turn them on. This is the BMX quarterfinals here at the Beijing Olympics, and that's Sakamoto on screen there. Emilio Falla from Ecuador, time trialed well this morning. And this man on screen, Donnie Robinson, some say the little fella is going to do well. The Venezuelan's well represented. Suarez Freites also time trialed well this morning. And the Kiwi, he may figure. Mark Willers mixing it with some of the best in the business. The Latvian, and aren't they strong? Lakut's from Latvia, of course. Stromberg's the current world champion. We're coming up in his quarterfinal. Andres Jimenez from Colombia. And BMX crosses all borders.
Absolutely, very, very strong down in South America. Well represented. And here he is, Mighty Mike Day from the USA.
Well, some say the 2-time world champion is the one to beat. They're locked and loaded in the first of the quarters here in the men's BMX. The first time at the Olympic Games. And we've seen some minor stacks in the time trials. What can we expect in the motors?
Well, one thing's for sure is they're going to be making it really, really tight into this first corner. It's going to be a real commitment. Who breaks first? Who breaks best? Any hesitation, and you'll be chasing the other 7 riders.
The electronic gate will snap the Kiwi up out of his saddle. He wants to get the weight over the handlebars. It's all about the start. You cannot afford to miss this jump. The Americans are strong. They have their full complement. 3 riders here qualifying for the games. Mike Day and Donnie Robinson. Set for a start. This will be over in 35 seconds. Do not blink. And the fuse is being lit on BMX motocross here in Beijing as the riders head towards the tabletop.
Well, Mike Day's got a nice lead. He's out in front. He wants to lead these guys right. They go down in the back.
A stack at the back as Day heads towards the big jump. And he's across the women's course. The big American comes round, the early favourite in the competition. And the American is leaving the riders in his wake.
Well, the field has just gone down to 3. We've seen 5 riders absolutely make a meal of it as Mike Day stays out in front and comes up first.
So Day from Jimenez from Falla and the rest of them pick themselves off the bitumen and try and post some points in the first of the quarterfinals. Well, Beijing bites early here in the BMX.
Oh, does it wide. Mighty Mike, pats on the back, but the first is the worst, and that is our first heat. Done and dusted. Let's see what just clipped at the back and puts him off into the side. There's the Lucas from Latvia with the Venezuelan rider biting the bitumen.
The 2-time world champ was having nothing of it. He was away well off the bottom of that 8-metre drop opening bank and just rode away with it.
Well, I told you, it's where it's going to be made or break, right there in that first turn. The race is won and lost. If you're out in front, you will stay there. Heat 2 coming up.
So the standings in the first quarter-final, Dave from Jimenez and Falla. The Kiwi doing well. Villa's fourth, remembering it's points from the quarters, which will get you through to the semi-finals. The top of the second quarter-final, featuring the Latvian Madisons, Van der Beijzen from the Netherlands, the South African Nalepo, Prokop, one to watch from the Czech Republic. Haven't seen much of him lately, but he's been firing well in the time trials. Hendrik Baldersen there from Denmark. In the red and white. The British riders, aren't they well represented? Shaughnessy Reid in the women's event crashed. An overwhelming favourite in the time trials. We'll see her later. Kyle Bennett, though, the third of the Americans. Aren't they strong? They're here in force, the Argentinians, Marino. All of these men have not raced each other. They've been doing individual time trials, and it's all about the motors and getting away to a flying start. You do not want to be caught behind, particularly on that first bend.
No, absolutely. Every jump has got to be perfect. Any mistakes, it's going to take the speed off your bike. You're going to find yourself chasing the other 7 riders. Artis Madison from Latvia performed well through his seated trial. There they are, stacked for heat number 2.
The American, the one to watch, Prokop from the Czech Republic, should figure. The South African, and he's been doing exceptionally well. The only South African here in the BMX. Set for a start in the second quarter. And they drop into the second quarter, and they're away well. They're hitting from 0 to 60 at the bottom of that drop.
Well, Michael Prokop needs to do some work here. He's at the back of the pack. Latvian rider Artis Madison out in front and making a really good crack at it.
That's the big, they actually jump across the women's course there, the men, as they hit the bitumen again. They head towards the final big banking turn, and still the Latvian in front.
Out of the rhythm section, into the third turn, and here's the straight. Madison's got it wrapped up. Prokop, he's got to come through.
So a safe, clean ride there for the second quarter, and it was the Latvian who are exceptionally strong. Stromberg's his countryman, current world champion.
There's Kyle Bennett, exhausted. He finished well, second out of the pack, clearing this big double gap over the women's section of the course nicely. Prokop just tagging on the back end of the jump. That's taken all the speed off his ride. There's Madison. He'll be stoked.
Well, his countryman is at the top of the ramp. Stromberg from Latvia, the current world champion, and some say the one to beat. That's Madison's just completing his first quarter. As we've said, it's all over in the blink of an eye. Between 35 and 40 seconds these runs take, and not a lot of opportunities to pass on any part of this course. But the difference between the men and the women's course is they actually jump over the women's course. Kamikaze in the Australian